I've named my nickel Philip. 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 It's a girl nickel.
Hello and welcome to the Fairly Odd Podcast, episode 2, where you can find aliens that want to suck out our brains with bendy straws, but they can suck out our minds, livers, and spleens, but we will never surrender!
What he said.
I'm your co-host, Andrew.
And I'm Jeffrey.
And welcome to the podcast where we talk about Fairly Odd Parents episodes. This week is episode 2. This one has part A and part B, just like all the other ones. Part A, let's just jump into it, was called Spaced Out. Let's do a quick recap, shall we? Timmy and his two friends are watching Crash Nebula, their favorite alien-based sci-fi, what would you call it? It's a, I guess, program, right?
Yeah, I guess. That'll work.
Yeah, they're get really into it, making Timmy want to reenact everything he just saw on TV, just like every kid. So he wishes for an alien to play with. Cosmo Wanda gives him an actual alien. He goes and finds his parents because he can't wish him back because he falls in love with Vicky, the alien, Mark. Very, very earthly name for an alien.
Right.
Timmy takes care of these alien parents by defeating all three of their like problems or whatever.
Challenges.
They come by, challenges. Thank you. That's a way better word, challenges. And he defeats the challenges. They come to Earth, and then they take him back to Yugobatamia, or Europe, as everybody in this episode calls it. And the episode ends with Vicky crying, Mark from Europe. This is an episode. Jeff, what did you think about it?
I thought it was interesting. We got a new character, Mark. We'll see him in some later episodes. We got to see some of Vicky, all of their interactions with Timmy, AJ, and Chester. No parents from Timmy yet, but I'm sure we'll get them soon-ish. So, kind of got a little bit of an Ed and Eddie feel right now with no parents, but they remedied that soon enough. But overall, I think it was an improvement from episode 1.
Yeah, I definitely thought it. I was laughing out loud during this episode multiple times. This is where we also meet Philip the Nickel. Mm-hmm. I think Cosmo has the best line ever when he goes, "What's the good news and what's the bad news?" Do you want to do this?
All you.
No. So he goes. What's the good news and what's the bad news? What's the good news? I found a nickel. I named my nickel Philip. And then he's like, what's the bad news? It's a girl nickel.
I think you did it better than I could have.
Nah, I stumbled.
It's fine.
But I love that. One of my favorite things about that I'm like finding out as I'm watching these is I love the I just love the reoccurring jokes that they keep doing. Like, let's hammer it. Like, what's the good news and what's the bad news? They did that joke like 4 times in the span of 11 minutes. And I loved every single time they did it. Again, you're harping on what I think what they're doing is, especially Butch Hartman in this first season, is you take something that kids like and you just throw it in there. Who's never wanted an alien or thought of being like a Space Ranger alien thing?
Yeah, I can get behind that. I remember kids always want to be astronauts. That's always like probably top 5. You ask a kid what he wants to be when he grows up. So you go off for that. I don't remember when Alien came out because I know that they were watching that Alien show with bendy straws, but I don't remember watching Alien kids or shows when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's true. I think Aliens came out in 1970 something. So
there's no way it came back out in the 70s.
So But I do like what you're saying is the homage, because the aliens did look like the aliens from Aliens.
It did come out in the 70s. I stand corrected.
Yeah, I had the anthology series, and I hated every single Alien movie. I don't like Alien. I'm more of a Predator kind of guy. I liked Arnold Schwarzenegger yelling throughout the whole movie. Get to the chopper! Do it now! Kill me!
Do it now!
That's why I think I like Jingle All the Way as much as I did. He's just yelling throughout the whole thing. Put my wife's cookies down!
It's not a tumor.
R.I.P. Phil Hartman. That's Kindergarten Cop. That's not Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, I know. It was just references.
Interesting how they took the alien way, because they are an alien race that kills everything. As they were coming towards Earth, they were shattering every single planet. Yet they're afraid of chocolate, skipping through flowers, and hugging teddy bears. All things that kids love to do. Also, I felt like it was super misogynistic to make Timmy skip through flowers and hug a teddy bear, and he's like, I'm a guy, I don't do that. And I was like, now watching that, like as a kid, I'm probably like, he's hugging a teddy bear. What an idiot. And now I'm watching it going like, guys can hug teddy bears and skip through flowers. Like, I skip at least once a week at work. Like,
through flowers?
Not through flowers, but just to skip. I mean, it's just an efficient way to get through somewhere. Also burns a lot of calories than just walking. What do you feel about this episode's ending? Because I have an opinion about this episode's ending.
This ending was weird, because at the end, Vicky ended up falling in love with Mark too, which I thought was odd. On their way back to Europe, quote unquote.
Yeah, you go Europe. I thought this. I get it. Every episode has like 11 minutes, and every part's 11 minutes, and they try to do 2 parts, kind of like a Looney Tunes episode. But I thought this episode ended way too quickly. Like, I just thought it was like super anticlimactic. He stuck AJ and Chester to the wall in the kitchen and was ready to just like
suck out their brains with bendy straws.
Yeah, and then now they're just like, he's like, mother, father, what are you doing here? And then the dad's just like, come on, she's not where we're from. And then Vicky's like, Europe?
Sure.
And then he's just like, okay, cool. Like, he just like leaves. So I just thought it was like a super anticlimactic, like, hey, let's just wrap this thing up. We got part B to do. We'll bring Mark back later.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but overall, I like this episode. Right now, out of the 4 parts I watched, spoiler alert, it's my favorite part so far. I know you liked part B of this episode way more than I did.
I do.
Was it the Polywolyoptosaurus?
Yes.
I feel like I'm getting too ahead of myself. I'm trying to think of last things to bring up, because there was another thing I wanted to bring up. I found out what I wanted to bring up. So Vicky's like kind of like telling him to like go away and all this other stuff, and then he's like, what can I do to make you love me? And she's like, make me a chocolate shake. And he goes to the kitchen and makes apparently the best chocolate shake ever. Do they have blenders on his ship or his planet? Like, this was never addressed. Is he just an idiot in every aspect except shake making or blending? Like, I just didn't understand that at all. It's just like, also, how did he handle? Skill to have. Also, how did he handle the chocolate? Because on his planet and his ship, nobody would touch it. Yet he's over there making a chocolate shake and then presenting it to her.
Interesting.
Is that to signify that his love is so deep and so strong for Vicky that he will touch chocolate for her.
Would you say his love burns with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns?
I'm so happy that you referenced that. That's one of my favorite episodes. Well, do you have anything last up to say about this episode before we take a quick break to talk about part?
There's not a whole lot to talk about for this episode, which is kind of unfortunate. But I do like how Mark was planning on sucking out AJ and Chester's brains with bendy straws in the same way that the alien from their TV show did.
Which gives it a little, like, what if Crash Nebula's writer got taken by the Yugopotamians?
Interesting. Oh, and
That's
another
a little thing
quick
to think about.
When they were playing with the squirt guns, and then Timmy wishes for an actual blaster, and he gets this giant cannon. They're like, "Whoa, where'd you get that?" And he's like, "Internet." I thought that was
I think that was
good.
ahead of its time.
Seriously, especially nowadays.
Because Amazon wasn't a thing. Now it's like kids are like, yeah, that's cool.
And they believed
my mom
them.
has Amazon on her iPad. Yeah. Well, nobody knew the internet back then, and the powerful beast it could be. That's a couple of things to think about. But while we take this quick break, before we talk about Part B of Episode 2. Hello and welcome back. Now it's time for Part B of Episode 2, which is entitled... What's it titled?
Transparent.
Transparents. We were just talking about it. Transparents. For a quick synopsis, this is the episode where apparently Crocker is doing show and tell in a 10-year-old's classroom. And Timmy brings in an extinct dinosaur. Crocker only has one conclusion, and it's the perfectly right conclusion. So he asked Timmy for a parent-teacher conference with his parents, and Timmy wishes for Cosmo and Wanda to be his parents for the day. He takes 2 minutes out of his time right before going into it to teach them how to be quote-unquote adults and humans, and Crocker tries to get him to slip up the whole time, and the episode ends with them getting detention. Him, Crocker, and AJ and Chester all get detention all at once. So let's open this floor up. You liked this episode quite a bit, you said.
I did. I liked it more than the Yugopotamians.
Why?
Ye of little faith. I just like Crocker's character. He's very funny in all the things that he does, because he's dead serious.
Yeah.
In all of his beliefs and mannerisms, but it's funny because, reasons.
Yeah, we get introduced to Crocker, and he is the best crazy character I've seen in any TV show. Like, he is just always nuts. His head always pops off and goes underneath his feet when he says fairy godparents at one point. And I think this was a great villain to introduce. First of all, every kid pretty much doesn't like teachers. They hand out homework, and so teachers are just obvious to make it. So you make it a teacher, and then he's just crazy as all get out, wanting to give you homework and also take away your fairy godparents. My whole thing is this whole show and tell, and he's giving them grades on show and tell. First of all, Timmy's like 10 years old. That's like fifth grade level. Like, first of all, why are you doing show and tell at a fifth grade level? And two, why are you grading them? How do you grade them on this? Like,
D for dog.
D for dinosaur too, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't understand that at all. But I guess show and tell, you can't like actually do like an actual like them asking questions or whatever, or I don't know, the history of Dimsdale. I guess that's
D for Dimsdale.
I guess that's one where they're just like, hey, how do we get him to be showing his hand that he has fairies? He conjures up an extinct dinosaur. Like, Timmy should have not taken that to show and tell and would have sold it to like the zoo or something so he could make millions and billions of dollars instead of trying to get an A in a show and tell fifth grade in California, Oregon, or Washington, wherever Dimsdale's at, or in England.
Or in England, yeah.
Crocker has
Possible.
weird teeth. So that happens. I wanted to point out early the timestamp of this episode, which is the phone booth. Crocker goes to the Crocker cave, which is underneath his desk, and then somehow he gets to the janitor's closet, and he goes into a phone booth that's just in the janitor's closet. Phone booths are not a thing anymore in 2017.
Nope.
Or 2018 now. They stopped being something in 2017, but now we're in 2018, so they're definitely not a thing. And they're never coming back. Rightfully so. What did you think about the phone booth and seeing that for, like, reference? Because we'll never have a reference of a phone booth except in a Deadpool 2 teaser.
Right? Or Doctor Who if you're still into that sort of thing. That might explain why Dimsdale's in England, but that's, that's something else.
Crocker's in the,
but yeah.
Whatever it's called, the
TARDIS.
The TARDIS, there it is. I don't watch Doctor Who, and I will never watch
Neither do I,
Doctor Who.
but I know people who do, so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we don't have any phone booths. We still have payphones at certain areas, but no more phone booths.
Well, you're in Tinseltown, USA. You have phone booths, right?
No.
No? Not even Tinseltown?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, most places here we don't even have streetlights. We don't have phone booths.
Okay. Well, that's a whole different issue. Streetlights are out. Every car has to have lights. Why do we need streetlights? Wow, Tinseltown. I don't remember seeing a phone booth, but also I wasn't looking for phone booths, so now you mentioning it, I'm really actually
You won't find one.
kind of...
You will find one of those little rides that you could put money in and right on top of it that we were talking about last episode. But
As we
no
were talking
phone
about in last episode. That's just crazy to me that there is not a phone booth in where you're at. Weird, small town, North Carolina, USA.
I wouldn't expect one. I'd expect one in a big city maybe, but not the middle of nowhere.
I would think in the middle of nowhere because maybe not everybody could have a phone. Whereas in a big city, everybody has, like, a phone. I don't know. I've lived in Florida all my life. I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I know Fairly Odd Parents.
That's all you need
That's
to
all
know.
I need to know. Oh, and I forgot to mention the subplot of this episode was Chester and AJ is recruited by Timmy to find his Polywallyoptosaurus that he says that it was his uncle's dog that he dressed up as a dinosaur. So Chester and AJ go into school either way too early or after hours just to look for this dinosaur.
I think it's early, because I think Principal Prickly asks them why they're in school so early.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think this is before school, the day after show and tell.
Yeah, the timeline doesn't make sense.
No. It looks dark. It could be mistaken for night.
Yeah.
It's weird.
What did you think about the whole montage of trying to get Cosmo and Wanda to be his parents? Did you think it was believable? It wasn't enough time?
I mean, you can only go so far with it, so I think they may do with the time that they have. I like how he had to tell Cosmo that he has to breathe
Yeah.
all the time, and then they were like, really? So it kind of made it funny how they show the difficulty of being human is difficult. So
Yeah. The run-on joke for this episode, in this episode was all the time, because I remember Wanda said something and then Timmy said something and then she was like, all the time? Yeah, they tried to walk through wall. They tried to walk through the wall.
They have to use doors.
And he's like, you have to use doors now. You're solid. All the time?
All the time? Yeah. The difficulty of being solid.
Yeah, too much.
Struggle's real.
My favorite line of the episode, though, was Denzel Crocker when he was giving him the coffee or whatever, and he's like, "Would you like creamer, sugar, magic?" What was that last one? Sugar. I thought that was a great line. I was like, yes.
Or I like when they're like, "Where do you get this stuff?" And then Crocker's like real stoked. He's like, "Columbia."
Oh, no. My favorite line of this episode actually was when he tried to get Cosmo or Wanda to sit in the electric chair in the swimming pool, and he's like, he was like, if they survive, they're fairies. If they die, I got tenure.
I have tenure. See, that's why I like this so much. Because it's like little tiny jokes just thrown into the dialogue that aren't meant to be punchlines, but they're still funny.
Yeah, they're really funny. And then he falls into the electric chair, and then he's holding a fish, I guess. Oh yeah, Cosmo gives him a fish, and he's like, chair, and then they're like, fish, and then he hands it to him, and it becomes fish sticks.
Fish sticks, yeah.
Which does that...
I used to eat fish sticks a ton as a kid, by the way.
Yeah. I remember one time I asked my grandma for fish and chips because I thought that's what fish sticks were. And she actually made real fish and chips. And I was like, this isn't fish sticks.
Totally different process.
Yeah, and I remember she was like, well, you said fish and chips. And I remember my grandfather sat down at the table and was like, what is this? This isn't fish sticks.
Great minds.
But Crocker survived. Does that mean he's a fairy? By his account, then he's a fairy.
Well, I think everybody in that show survives everything. They go through some crazy stuff.
That's true, but he did have a pile of fish sticks. And I loved when Cosmo came up and was like, hey, do you want to do this? And then he's like, yes, but first I have to peel off the dead skin.
Oh.
Again, this episode was, I think, a little quick to the end. It was just like, hey, let's just wrap it up. We got episode 3 to do, and they kind of just wrapped it up in a quick hurry and was just like, here you go, everybody has detention. But now that I'm rethinking about it, I did like this episode a lot. Again, I would say Spaced Out was funnier, just because I liked Mark a lot more. First meeting Mark was a lot funnier to me than meeting Crocker for the first time, but Crocker did have his great jokes. And throughout the series, you just grow to love Crocker. I think I'll like Crocker more now that I'm an adult.
He's more relatable.
Yeah. As a kid, you're just like, screw Crocker. I want Cosmo and Wanda to stay with Timmy. But as an adult, you're just like, I like the weird characters that are adults. Yeah, you liked it a lot. Is there any other points that you liked? Any other lines?
I don't know. I think we got some good ones, definitely. I like how they were driving in, and they were going through the parking spots, and it's like teachers, principal, fairies, and they're like, oh, fairies. So then he tries to park, and then Timmy swerves out of the way, and he's like, whew, that was close. And then he cuts across to Crocker, and he's like, man, that was close.
Yeah, I loved his foolproof plans. Also, good on Crocker for planning that Timmy Turner would freak out about the parent-teacher conference and wish that his fairy godparents would show up as his parents. Also, he has fairy godparents. Like, how did he know that he has 2 married fairy godparents? Like, as we go throughout the shows, we'll find out that there's some characters that only have one fairy. Like, the muscle-bound one that is supposed to be Antonio Banderas meets The Rock or whatever. Juandísimo. That kid only has one. He still has a thing for Wanda, but, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Jorgen von Strangel's only one. Even Cosmo Mom only is Cosmo's mom. Like, there's no Mr. Cosmo's dad. I didn't know what to call him. But so would we be correct in saying that this was your favorite part out of all 4 parts that we've watched so far?
So far, yes, definitely. That's my number 1 ranking.
Number 1.
We'll see how that changes, but
Yeah, I think at the end of all these, after the end of season 1, I want to do like our top 3 favorite parts.
Okay.
So far, Mark is Spaced Out is my favorite, followed by this one. I forgot what this Transparent. Funny, I keep on forgetting the title because I wanted to bring it up. If this were to come out today in 2018, 17 years after it came out, would you think they would have kept the name, or do you think they would have changed it with how woke, quote unquote woke, we have become?
They definitely would have changed it. I don't even think they would have thought of naming it that. There would have been somebody in HR throwing piles of everything at them.
Yeah, that PR person would have been freaking out. Like, we need to not call this Transparent. Need this. That's reserved for something else. It's a Showtime show or a Starz show. I can't remember. HBO. I don't know. It's not on anymore because of Jeffrey Tambor. I shouldn't have brought that up on this Fairly Odd podcast. Yeah, I think they would have called it like Fairy Teacher Conference or something like that. Like,
or like Odd Parents. Like Odd Dash Parents, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's
something,
true.
That's an idea.
Wishing for better parents. I don't know.
Too real.
Spend more time with me. But yeah, I totally agree with you. They would have changed this all differently. They wouldn't even have thought of it. Maybe it would have came up and like, hey, what if we called it Transparent? And then they'd just be like, ha ha ha, no, Jim, we're not gonna call it that. But yeah, I agree with you. Any last parting words before we end this episode?
Nothing off the top of my head.
I think we should have a segment where you just say the last word after everything before I end the episode.
No pressure.
So be thinking about it. I'll be thinking about all the opening lines, and you can think of all the closing lines, and then we'll just sandwich them together. I'm liking how we're planning this while the podcast is still being recorded.
I know, right?
Anyways, let's end this episode. Join us next week for episode 3, where I will know the titles like I did last time.
We'll be better prepared.
Adios.
Maybe.
Adios, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
I've named my nickel Philip. 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 It's a girl nickel.